we all have to agree on how we're ranking these.
I think they are a solid B tier.
They're going D for me. So we got some
Really?
discussion to do here.
No,
Really?
boring.
You're just picking up the white weapon
Yeah,
casings.
I said it was a single favourite thing. I think it's my only favourite thing. That does feel harsh, but we move.
Someone's got to be down there.
I'm over it.
Salamanders.
There's a new Heresy Marine.
Yep. The Siegebreaker console. What do we think of this one?
I mean, it's really cool. I like that we get just every now and then we just get like a little. We get like sprinkles of like, oh, here's a new Heresy.
Here's a new
Marine.
character.
Here's a new Heresy character.
Well, they were doing a lot of them when the new like edition of Age of Darkness or whatever they call it just came out, and there was like a new, was it Heresy Thursday, and it was like every week.
Yeah.
And then Imperialist stuff started coming out, and that's kind of took over. And I feel like now we've come full circle.
I like it though. It's just every now and then it's like a little. It's almost like a little stealth reveal. So, oh, you didn't know it was coming. Here you go. Here's a new character.
Yeah. I wish they'd done it for like 40k stuff, just in general, to be honest. Because like, it's cool that they have the big events, but now and then, if they're just like...
They do it for 40k. Because you had the Crute Hounds the other day. So,
yeah,
they
do smaller ones like that every now and then. But I think they save a lot of big stuff up for events for 40k, which they do bigger stuff for Heresy, even they do at events, don't they? Like we just had the Solar Auxilia not too long ago. So
yeah.
But yeah, this is a cool model.
The Demolition Man of Horus Heresy.
Yeah. I suppose we all instantly looked at the same thing.
The screen.
The screen.
The screen is nuts.
Too busy playing Tetris rather than war. Yeah.
I've never thought about doing like more. It's like he's got a dashboard like pulled up rather than just like one thing.
It's an iPad, yeah. It's a full like he's got a full.
He's got multiple interfaces going on there. He's an iPad kid at heart.
Hats off.
He's in that like multi-view thing. How many monitors do you reckon he has?
Hats off to whoever painted it because that screen is absolutely sick.
What's all that like stuff coming out of the other side?
What the?
That's supposed to be like a
hologram.
A hologram of. I guess,
like a map.
He's dropping bombs on things. I imagine.
It.
So he's like,
is it a Marine? No, it's a Marine. Look, you can see the shoulder pads, the lid, and the backpack. It's a Marine. It's a hologram of a Marine.
Oh, is it like someone talking to him?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of when they did the Gene Stealer one.
Oh yeah,
and it had the
map.
that's
definitely
had like
a
the
hologram.
Warhammer World thing on it. I thought it was supposed to be like that.
No, it's definitely a hologram. Like you can see the beaky. It's a beaky.
So he's being like spoken to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, can you leave me alone? I'm trying to play Tetris.
Is that have we ever had that before in a model?
What's that?
A hologram of another character, kind of on a screen or something, talking to it.
That's too meta, surely.
No, that's what we've got. Like we've got there. If that's another character,
I don't think it's detailed enough to be another character though.
Oh, another Marine. Then sorry, I'm Jesus Christ, right? Just another person, another Marine.
You get like a little mini Horus.
Yeah, another Marine talking to him. Have we ever seen like a holographic thing like that?
It's very
before?
Star Warsian, isn't it?
Yeah.
His fingers look like they're hovering over the disconnect button. It's just like, leave me alone.
Yeah,
please.
No, you hang up first. No, you hang up first.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen that before. If that is what that is.
Yeah, it's a cool model.
Yeah,
very cool model.
Very cool. Very welcome addition to Heresy Marines.
You ever?
Sorry, no, I was just.
You're doing your own. You're talking to your own holographic.
Yeah, no, I was doing my own. Yeah, no, I was literally looking. Do you know what it is? I noticed the backpack. Sorry, I was literally.
He's in his own world.
I was in my own world. I was literally looking at the backpack. I was like, wow, there's stuff on the backpack's amazing. It's got like these green canisters on the backpack.
Good thing about being on a podcast is when you're looking at models and you get those thoughts, you can say it into the microphone. I know.
I was like, wow, look at that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no.
That's what we done before we started recording. We're like, oh, look at this amazing detail.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, no, say
literally, they wouldn't shut up about it, and I was like, "Stop! To hold it. Like, can we talk about it on the show?"
That surely shows that it's a really good model because it's captivated us. So yeah,
that is true. He's worked it round to a positive. I'll let him off.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, this week, Joe, you have a little Easter egg to share. Yeah,
we got we can finally talk about this. It's been in the works for a little while. It's not happening now, but it'll be in a couple of weeks. We're aiming, I think, for the last episode of the month. So. We have been granted the pleasure of... I've just got the top of the box here, not the full box. I don't even know if that's going to fit in the thing. We're testing out the new Army Painter paint range. That's a lot of paints.
216 to be to be precise.
Yeah,
There's a lot in there.
mad. Very cool. So what we have all decided to do is our chaos kind of monthly challenge models that we're doing.
This is the hashtag Phoebus Bile challenge that we're doing.
Yeah, hashtag Phoebus Bar. You can paint any chaos model, and we'll all discuss it at the end of the. We'll reveal ours and discuss yours on the last episode of the month. We've all added the challenge that us three are painting ours entirely with these Army Painter paints, so we can then bring you a detailed review of said paints.
And not to spoil it, but we'll all be using completely different paints from the range so we can share different thoughts.
Mostly, mostly. There's a few shared ones where we've had to be passing the pots.
Yeah, but the black pot has made its
Yeah,
way,
it was
made its way around.
always going to be doing the back
Expect
pot.
a thorough review of the black paint in particular, and then some of the others. We did try and make a conscious effort to use a load of different paints. I actually used some of it on my Biotanuary model as well, but we'll save that. We'll get to that at the end of the month. Yeah. So thanks to Army Painter for sending those to us, and looking forward to getting into them. I don't even know where to start. There's so many.
I remember picking up the box and being like, what on earth is this? And then you look inside and you're like, oh, it's paint. Like, it is dense.
Yeah.
Like, they're so tightly packed
There's
in there.
almost zero packaging inside that box. Like, it is just a box crammed full of paint and brushes.
I'm not surprised that George was happy about it or excited, because there's 256 dropper bottles in there. So,
Speaking of dropper bottles, by the way.
216.
216. Oh, okay.
Overshooting it a little bit.
Speaking of dropper bottles, by the way.
I've ordered them. I've ordered them from that.
I've ordered them. So I have been banging on about dropper bottles for years, as everyone knows. And I gave like the hookup of the Viejo ones.
The
that I
perfect
used,
dropper bottle.
The perfect dropper bottle. And then I complained last week that now everyone has gone out and bought them and I can't get them anymore. But one of the
You lost your
listeners,
supplier.
I'll put your name on screen there, kindly sent us the link for their source. So I've ordered 50 more.
So they're going to be out of stock again, because everyone's going to get that link and do it undoubtedly.
It said they had hundreds in, and I ordered 50 as well.
I have actually ordered from that store before, and I forgot about it. So
I can't remember the name of the store, so we can't shout them out. But we'll put a link if anyone else wants to go and buy them. Other places do still stock them. It's just a lot of places are out of stock. Because I know that Everything Airbrush, for example.
But they've been out, as someone who keeps up to date with this sort of thing, they've been out of stock for like 2 years.
Do you know what I saw on Everything Airbrush? They do the double the size ones.
Yeah, the larger ones. Yeah,
which could be interesting.
That'd be handy for James and all of his infinite supply of blood red
ketchup bottles.
Bottles, or blood red bottles.
Also, can we nudge Everything Airbrush to try and get them back in stock? I literally, as soon as George put that in our group chat for the podcast, then I was like ordering them straight away.
Yeah. So cheers for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Also hobby updates. We discussed the unfortunate demise of the Dark Angels last week. So I've kickstarted the Blood Angels, got a few units built. I've gone for.
I don't care.
He's still hurt. It's a touchy subject.
Okay. Well, I'll just speak directly to James because he's the only one who's listening to me. I've built.
I just start talking, but you've cut my mic off.
I've started building specifically 6 Blood Angel models, so that by default, as soon as he's finished, I've overtaken my Sons of Horus.
So hang on a second. When I came in this morning, he said, "Look, I've started." I was like, "That's amazing," and I actually said, "That's one more than your Sons of Horus." So it's already on a good start. So yeah,
we need to do a tank as well then.
Yeah, you got to do a tank as well.
I did do a tank.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a spanner. Right. Well, technically it's a model, so I'm on par. That's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, I'd let it off if it was Dark Angels, but I'm gonna be to the point harsh on your Blood Angels. Okay. I think so. Unfortunately, that doesn't count. You need to paint a tank as well.
It's still a bit hurt there.
And it's a Primaris army, so it needs to be one of the Primaris tanks. You can't skimp out on one of your little like rhinos or something.
No, technically you could technically do something else.
No, he wants to do a Primaris Blood Angels army. Let him do a Primaris.
Do a Land Raider. They can go in a Land Raider.
Can they?
Yeah, they can now. Yeah.
Oh well, it's not Primaris model though, is it? Do you want a Land Raider in your Primaris army?
I'll be honest, I'd rather a Land Raider than the Primaris tanks. I don't like the Primaris.
The
Gladiator.
The Predator.
Gladiator's solid.
Predator Annihilator all day long. Much better tank.
They're too skinny for me. I don't want like a hefty tank. They're skinny.
But compared to Land Raider, when's the last time you saw a Land Raider in person?
Because
they're not like as bulky as you might want them to be.
They hold their own.
Get yourself an Astraeus or whatever it is and stop moaning.
That still counts.
That's a good.
Still counts as one model.
That's a good looking tank. The Astraeus.
It's not very. I don't think it's very marine looking, personally.
Yeah, it doesn't look very marine-y, I will agree.
Yeah, obviously, but it's a bulky space tank. Like, what else do you want?
That should be the official description. Bulky space tank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Anyone else done any hobby this week?
Worked more on my tanks. The tank factory continues churning. So yeah, I'm up to about. What I want to do is obviously all the infantry, and I'm just going to throw this in. This isn't for the end of June, by the way. I'm just going to put the proviso and the caveat.
We were talking about the film then.
No, June.
With a J.
With a J, yeah.
But we
June.
would say, I wouldn't say June. I suppose I would say June.
Yeah.
Shout out the American.
That's why I got confused. Yeah.
So this isn't for June. This is for just.
He said it more like how you would say the film then to throw me off. I'm certain. That sounded more like the film.
This is like, I don't know if you ever listened to it. Do you remember on Rooster Teeth, there was like a famous clip of Gavin saying, I'm not saying cool, I'm saying cool.
Yeah. Anyway, not your end of June.
Mordian sort of like deadline.
Yeah.
I am going to also do with the infantry, I'm going to do a full tank company. So as in, not company, sorry, as in a full tank squadron. So 10 Lehman Russes to go with it as well, with a tank commander. So I've got 8 out of the 10 in progress at the moment.
This is the man who can't paint a single model in a week for a deadline.
But I can build as quick as anything. So
but if you've got 8 done, then that can get done by the end of June. Surely you can add that in.
Well, I don't want to set the bar too high.
You've said it now. You've immortalised it on the podcast.
No, I started it with a caveat saying this isn't for
We don't
June.
do caveats here. We've never done caveats. We're not going to start now.
All right. 6 Blood Angels instead of 5 Sons of Horus. Come on.
All right, trying and failing to one up yourself.
Should we do some listeners' comments?
Yeah.
Mindy Frank 5279 says, so in this discussion of brush maintenance, trying to keep the ferrule dry and moisture free, how do you wash it / condition it without getting it all wet? This was one of the popular misconceptions of last week.
A recurring comment. To tag on to that, I saw a couple of people kind of mentioning, even like when you're cleaning your brush while you're painting and putting it in the pot and rustling it around or whatever, they were kind of a bit confused at the sentiment.
Just to clarify on that, it is going to get wet. However, what we were talking about is that don't leave loads of moisture in it, as in thoroughly dry your brush at the end of a session and then leave it horizontal rather than vertical so that water doesn't permeate or recede and stay in the ferrule, if that makes sense. It naturally air dries.
We've not got some like weird guru method of cleaning the brush without water. Like we still have water pots. Don't worry.
You stare at it long enough. If you stare at it long enough, the dry paint will evaporate.
I think that was, maybe we should have clarified that while we were explaining it. But yeah, it's on those things that a few people cropped up asking.
Yeah.
Negative Nezzy says, I couldn't imagine using contrast paints with a Kolinsky brush. I'm going to extrapolate that to as sort of a common myth, I think. Like people say you can't use washes or metallics or contrast paints with.
Never heard this, so I was really confused.
I've heard this a lot.
I've never heard it once. So
it's the same as an ink. Like they're very, very high concentration of pigment, really strong in their saturation of color. So like all that happens is that it takes a lot longer to clean the brush fully of that. They are more aggressive on the hair in the head. They do definitely tend
They're also like by nature, they are more likely to sort of flow further up into the brush. It's going to sort of wick in there more. But I would say that like I wouldn't not use one.
No, I think as long as you look after it, as long as you clean it properly at the end of the session, you should be fine. I've used contrast plenty of times with Kolinsky's, and as long as you clean it correctly, it's fine.
I'm pretty hard on my brushes, and this isn't like advice for you to necessarily do the same. But in my experience and the way I paint, I use my Kolinsky brushes for literally everything, and providing that you clean them and look after them and provide like proper etiquette of use.
Yeah,
I've not found that my brushes wear out any quicker than if I weren't to do that personally. But
yeah, it is all about looking after it. It just is. It's just the care that you put into them.
I'll pull up one comment in particular, but I did see a few people mentioning this. Jake A. Barron says, I wanted to say you could buy 2 or 4 mil rubber silicone tubing from Amazon
this was gonna
and
be.
cut it into length to make brush caps. Hope that helps, Joe. I also saw a few people saying that if you go on some art websites, they'll have like long lengths of brush tips that you can cut, because apparently you can't keep hold of one.
Yeah, I didn't see that specifically. Did notice no one commented saying, yeah, I lose mine as well.
I saw one comment that said that. Only one.
I didn't see any of those. I have ordered...
oh, you ordered them already?
I've ordered something from Amazon, so I will report back. It's actually arriving today. So
very exciting.
I'll update with a picture later of my new like electrical cables on my on my brushes.
I actually thought, I don't know if you want me to drop it now, but I actually thought of a hack that would help you.
Save it to the end of the episode. Hobby hack.
We've got hobby hack. You can throw another bonus one.
This is
okay.
A tactical tailored hack. So this is one that we've come.
A TTH, if you will.
TTH, yeah. Just off it. Yeah. We're gonna have to have like an episode where we have a breakdown of all these sort of shortened forms.
Maybe we should do like an Instagram post that just is like a brief overview of all the
just made up acronyms that we've got.
Abbreviations, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously one end goes over the brush with the brush head within. So what you can do is you can glue on with super glue a magnet onto the end of it. So when you take it off, you put it on your light and it's going to stay there. and then you can.
That is the worst hobby hack we've ever pitched on the podcast.
Excuse me, coming from the person that said using sand on a base, or was it that you said that? Sorry, like
hobby hack, base your model.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I appreciate the thought. I might give it a go. I probably won't, but I might give it a go. It seems like a lot of effort.
No TTHs anymore for you,
I
then, mate.
I can tell you've never
actually done it.
Lost them.
Yeah.
No, I haven't, no.
I choose to believe that James's painting lamp is just an arm with like just loads of random stuff stuck to it.
100%.
Mine does have magnets
100%.
all over it, to be fair.
Yeah, 100%.
I've got magnets on mine, but they are the magnets. There's nothing stuck to them.
Drill bits, pin for pinning models. I haven't done the brush tip thing because I just don't lose them.
I did actually find... I found at the bottom, I was having a bit of a clean up of my station the other day, and shortly after recording that episode, and I found at the bottom of my like little tub of like paper clips and stuff, found about 6 brush caps.
That's where they
go.
Actually, pinning that thought.
So I've got a few, but I've also I've ordered some stuff off Amazon based on what people were suggesting in the comments, so I will report back.
Well, on that note, Lucas says, I store my brushes head down in a cup with the plastic tube protection they come with. I don't think I've ever seen anyone mentioning that as an option. So that's obviously in terms of James saying to store your brushes face up.
Sideways.
I've thought of it. A few people actually
James said sideways.
Yeah, but also he said,
he
said not to store them with
the brush head up.
Yeah. I saw actually a few people saying this, why can't you store them face down with a cap? My hatred for that is
caps fall off.
Caps fall off, and then they're stuck in the bottom of your jar, but you've got like 30 brushes in there, like in the way, and you can't get them out.
Yeah,
that might be handy for me
because now they're going to all be in the same place.
They'll all be in the jar. I will note
not if you use magnets on the end, mate. TTH.
I will note that there was a few comments suggesting this, and all I took from it was that they were flexing that they still had their paintbrush caps. This was just
undertones.
They just wanted they wanted everyone to know that they don't lose their caps, similar to you.
Sounds like, as we said, I think it's a you problem, Joe.
Yeah, I'm baffled. Genuinely, I'm baffled that no one else faces this issue.
I'll occasionally drop one, but I pick it up. Call me crazy.
Maybe I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't. Do you know what I genuinely think it is? I think I put them on. I'll take it off, put it on the table. It'll roll off at some point, and then I'll just put my brush back, and then eventually it gets hoovered or something. Probably.
There
That's
you
go.
Probably it. Yeah. Weave Tree says, love the podcast, guys, full of helpful tips and tricks. As part of the new year, I'm looking at entering my first painting competition this year. Could you give me some advice for the competition, such as varnish or no varnish, or are fancy plinths required? Please help.
Like your little impression of that last bit there.
James, you're probably the most qualified for this one.
I would just say...
What are you trying to say?
What are you trying to say?
I'm also someone who's never entered a competition, so I can relate to this person.
There you go.
But I'll pass to James.
Go on, James, teach us your wisdom.
All I would say is it's the first time you're entering, just enjoy yourself. I think that's the most important thing. Don't have any any specific expectations. I think is one of the things regarding plinth or not plinth or anything. Just do what you feel is right for the model. A plinth can work really well. Or if you it depends whether you're mounting it on the plinth or if you're going to be putting the base on the plinth or a variation of things. Some of the models are suited to having a base. Some of them have got like sculpted scenery and stuff that comes on them. It fits quite nicely on a base. So it varies, but I would always stick to the rule of just paint something, number one, that you massively enjoy the model, as in you absolutely love the model. Don't just go and paint a model that's like the newest model or the most favorite model, like the trend or whatever, blah blah. I don't think that just serves you any favors really. I think just paint something that you really warm to the model, because you've got to look at it ultimately for tens and tens and tens of hours and invest a lot of effort and concentration into it. It needs to be something that every time you pick it up you're going to enjoy it. It shouldn't be something that you're just going to feel like it's a labor. I think one of the beautiful things about competition painting is that you get to really push yourself and obviously try and paint. When you're in that mindset of painting the best that you can, you should also complement that with doing something that you massively enjoy. I think if you sever that kind of connection, I think, and just paint something for the sake of it, or because you think a category might not be as busy, or that, you know, this model is new, so, you know, potentially not a lot of people will paint that model for it or whatever. I think sometimes you don't set yourself something which you're going to enjoy the most. And I think that's one of the things that I would say.
I'd also just tag on to that. We've obviously spoken about competition entry before on the podcast. Specifically, I want to point this viewer, I'm assuming this was a YouTube comment, so they might be a YouTube viewer, which means they might have missed our only audio exclusive episode that we've ever done, which was with Adam Skinner, who's won a load of Golden Demons. And it was basically just us asking him, how'd you do it? What'd you do? How can we do it? So head over to the audio feed, find the episode with Adam Skinner. I think it's like episode 22 or something. It's around that thing.
If you get that bang on, that'll be amazing. If you get that correct, that episode number.
If I think it's 22 off the top of my head. But
fact check.
Cut it if it's wrong. Yeah, but would highly recommend that episode. We touched on it briefly in other episodes as well, but that was fully...
He got it right. It's 22.
Bang on.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, Ads is very much a seasoned painter. So yeah, that episode will serve you massively well.
Geek English says, are there any models that you guys think got worse with a new version? One for me is the old Space Wolfen look way better than the ones that came out in 7th edition. I also loved the old Stormtrooper models that were absolutely caked in grenades. And I saw the Kazakin replacement as them Kadifying the units.
Yeah, I had to have to agree about the Wolfen. I think the old ones, I say old ones, but the ones that came previous to the 7th ones, I think I did prefer them just because of the overall aesthetic to them. New ones are still cool, but like I kind of like, you know me, I like a lot of the older stuff. So
Joe, you're missing out on an obvious Blood Angels retort there, because James is famous for being a Dante fanboy. Yeah. And if I recall, James, you don't like the new Dante too much.
I said I'm about 95.5% sure on it. I just wish that the new one had the full death mask rather than having it sort of like welded to the front of a helmet. Other than that, I absolutely love it.
I think that it was difficult to think of one really, because nothing immediately stuck out to me, honestly, when I was reading this, if I'm honest. Like, no, there's no model where I'm like, oh, the old one's way better. But one that did come to mind sort of is the new Imatech, the Stormlord or whatever, from Necrons.
Yeah.
I think the model's still great. Like, the new model's great, and I wouldn't even necessarily say the old model is better. But I think it almost blends in a bit too much now. Whereas back then, with
do you mean it blends in like with the range?
With the rest of the range. So it's comparative to the rest of the range. Like, the model's still great, but I remember that was one that came out and I was like, oh, like that's a cool Necron Lord, but it's supposed to be Imatech. You know what I mean? Like,
do you mean that kind of in the sense of like how like a Primaris like lieutenant is basically just a Primaris intercessor, but
that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah. So imagine if like a named Space Marine character, we were talking about like White Scars and stuff the other day. So like imagine if when that Khan model came out, the
Kasaro Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine when that came out, if it just looked like a lieutenant. And it was like, here's Kasaro Khan.
Yeah.
It was just a lieutenant. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it felt like.
Well, it's funny you should actually say Kasaro Khan, because it's funny enough that it kind of did happen with him a little bit, because he's known for being on a bike, and they released him.
He didn't get the bike.
They didn't get the bike. So it is kind of like that.
There is that. Yeah. That is part of it, I suppose. That's another section to it. But I still think that model on its own looks really cool and unique. As a Space Marine model.
Yeah.
Or like, say, for example, like any of the Iron Hands ones, they all look like really cool and unique. If they'd have come out and it was a named character and it just looked like a lieutenant, I think everyone would have been a bit like, oh.
Yeah.
That was the closest thing I could come to, really. I think in general, bit of a new head, I suppose. I prefer a lot of the newer stuff anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just a quick one. Wanted to let you know that you can get your own miniatures painted by the world-class team here at Siege Studios. We offer a variety of painting levels and services to meet your needs and budget, whether you want a centerpiece character or an entire gaming army. We offer well above the industry standard of quality and experience. You can learn more about our services and get a quote now at siegestudios.co.uk. And just for you podcast listeners, you can get 5% off your first commission with us here at Siege using the code PAINT5. Now back to the show.
Topic for this week. We've had a bit of a debate the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the infamous Blood Angels, Dark Angels feud. But we thought something that would be quite fun would be just going through the general Space Marine chapters. Not all of them. We're just going to go through the ones that are listed on GW's site as like their own separate category. And we thought we'd have a little bit of a ranking system. But the twist to this game is we all have to agree on how we're ranking these. Yep. So we've got a tier list up here, and we are going to go through each of these chapters one by one. We're going to talk not necessarily about like lore and stuff, more about the models and just like rule of cool and what we think would be fun to paint, what's got good models in it.
Yeah, I think lore does come into that a little bit.
We will bring it in, obviously, and it will be related to the models in some sense, but we're not going to go like definitely not rules in game or anything like that. We're just going to give our little painting hats a spin on all of these. So what have we got first here? We've got Black Templars.
Black Templars,
So these have got some of these. This is one of the few chapters that's got like new models.
Yeah, we spoke about it last week, like in terms of the refresh that they got and how cool some of those models are.
And again, like if every chapter gets that would be absolutely amazing. I literally would love every single one of those chapters to get one of those kits. I think would be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So Black Templars, what's everyone's kind of?
Well, I'm obviously a bit biased with Black Templars.
I was going to say, you've painted them for your competition thing. I don't really have any experience with Black Templars.
I have a half-painted Black Templars GD squad.
You did a GD squad as well, yeah.
Never finished it. Not finished it, but...
What's the kind of... I know roughly, but maybe for some people that don't as well, and I don't know too much. So what's the kind of overall... What's the surface level kind of tagline lore of the Black Templars?
So they are a second founding that started with Sigismund just after Siege of Terra, when all the legions were separated into chapters because of the Codex Astartes. Essentially, they're fleet-based chapters, so they just go around crusading from system to system, world to world, just against Xenos, Heretic, etc. So they're very much, I'd say they're probably the most zealous of the Space Marine chapters. And actually, they do break the rule a little bit about only numbering 1,000 Marines because they have various different crusade fleets. And there's no way for like the Inquisition or for like the Administratum to kind of say, well, you've got more than you should have, which is quite cool about them. So they do have massive, massive fleets.
Do they, I'm potentially making this up, but the thing of both their shoulder pads, for example, both have Black Templars.
The Templar
logos,
cross,
right? Yeah. So why is that? They don't have any normal rankings or anything. Is that right?
I actually don't know that.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah. I guess they don't have any. They have their own rankings, I guess. But do they not have like normal?
So they have that. If you've got red trims and red crosses, it's Sword Brethren, which is
exactly.
Which essentially
so it's kind of a bit different to like the normal.
So you'll have a Sword Brother leading like a Crusader squad. So
is that effectively veterans or?
Yeah, so it's like having It's like having a sergeant, but not. It's more. I'd say it's more experienced than a sergeant.
Yeah.
But then
I think it's cool that it's kind of a bit of a twist on. It's not the same.
It's not like fully Codex Astartes. Yeah. So they are a little bit divergent in that sense, where they literally you can have scouts obviously in the squad neophytes, and you have obviously like initiates, etc. So yeah, they are really cool when it comes to that.
But most importantly, the models are new and the models are sick.
They are.
Yeah. What's your favourite one of the upgrades? What's your favourite kit of the redo?
Of the kit, I think the Crusader Squad, probably.
Yeah.
That's not me going off of like upgrades from the old one. That's just like, I just think they look cool. I think they're some of the cooler Primaris units. In terms of like coolest model that's had a release for it, I don't think you can actually buy it still. I think it was limited, but it was the Bayard's Revenge, the jewel with the orc on the base and he's like stabbing the sword.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favourite model that came from that like refresh.
That was a commemorative thing, I think. Commemorative series. Yeah, that was very cool.
For me, it's Mark Gibbons' Hellbrecht.
I was going to say
Hellbrecht's a good one.
The Hellbrecht model is great.
You know how much I love models that are done from artwork, and the Mark Gibbons artwork and the model done off of that.
Another dead orc on the base. I'm sensing a theme.
Do you know what? I think we've spoken before, me and George, a little bit about how I think personally, sometimes if they lean too much on the artwork, you can end up with a worse model because what looks really good in a 2D piece of artwork doesn't always look great as a 3D model. And sometimes they can lean too much on it and it ruins the model a little bit. That one is a perfect example of how good it could also be.
It's a Babe Ruth special run. Yeah.
Do you know what also got a awesome upgrade in that release was Grimaldus?
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Yeah, I was a bit iffy on the grinning face though, the smiling, the teeth.
On the faceplate?
The teeth, yeah. It looks like he's just showing his teeth.
Do you know what? It's a weird thing.
But that's a quick helmet change on a cool model. But yeah.
It's a weird thing to really be drawn to, but I really love, the they like servitors that it comes with. Like,
I love
retinue. The guy that's got the like pillar on his back, that model is so cool.
Yeah. One of the worst jobs in Warhammer 40,000.
What, just lugging a pillar after your boss?
Just carrying a column around.
Just happy to be there.
Right.
Where are we putting them then overall?
I think that this is a solid A tier.
I was going to say A tier, yeah. But the thing is, we haven't spoken before. Obviously,
this might move around.
We can have a rejig.
Yeah, but we haven't spoken about like the painting side of it yet, which is the thing that
true. I
think
black, lots and lots of black.
Yeah, true. And there is obviously some white on there as well. Which
is painting wise one of the most frustrating combinations because you're obviously going to prime all the models black.
Especially having to
painting white over. It could be worse.
Especially having to do black trims on the shoulder pads with the white inset on the shoulder pads. That is a nightmare with any two color combinations, let alone black next to white. It's horrible.
Pads separate, airbrush and white, paint the black trim. Done.
Yeah, but that's still horrible, right? Having to paint the black trim.
Just be neat.
With the thing.
Just be neat.
Yeah, but it's still, I'd rather just do one colour.
You get the 950 on the go and you just cover those trims like tarmac. Done.
950 on the go. Can that be our like painting fast food out there?
But I do think overall paint schemes and everything, I don't think you can go wrong with black armour.
No. Solid.
Red accents.
It's quite like inoffensive, isn't it? Like,
solid.
It's just...
And for me, extremely satisfying to paint. I love painting black armour. You don't... If you're doing it in a certain way, you don't necessarily have to recess shades.
What was it? Was it for the Ultramarines challenge that we done where you painted something with black?
Yeah, I have a half painted one at the moment with that. But that was following. It was an Ultramarine successor. I can't remember what they were called. But it was basically Black Legion colours.
Fair.
But yeah, had a great time doing the armour. I just didn't bother doing the rest. of the
solid A.
Let's go with A.
Let's go with A, and we'll see how we move. There we go. Next one's Blood Angels, and then one after that's Dark Angels. I want to leave those till the end.
Let's hold fire on that.
I want to leave those till the end.
Let's hold fire on that. What's next?
The next one is an interesting one, really.
Deathwatch.
It's Deathwatch, and it's not obviously a normal Space Marine chapter, so it's also more black armor. But plenty to say on the Deathwatch, I guess. Do you want to give us another lore outline on Deathwatch?
Deathwatch, essentially, the A team of Space Marines. That's the best way for me to explain it in a real sort of shoot from the hip.
A team were famously a 1,000 member group.
I have a thing with this actually, is that I don't know what the official law states. I've never read anything. I've never read any Deathwatch books or anything, but I have to imagine that it's actually quite the opposite of the A team, because I don't think any of these legions will be sending their best away to join something else. I think it's actually more get rid of all the useless
You're our
people.
best soldier. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of you. You're going to go over to this other group.
I think it's actually more they've been sent away to get, because they're like, I think it's more of a, which I actually prefer as a story, but I think it's more of a like, you know, send all the ugly ducklings over to their own team.
For a Marine, it's quite a cool thing because they get to go away and learn a lot of stuff which they wouldn't learn in their chapter, and they get to fight a lot of things which not necessarily they, depending on where they're based, obviously in the system, also in the galaxy, like they all fight different foes. The good thing about Deathwatch is that they have all the gear to deal with loads of different types of enemies. And obviously they are working for one of the most insidious organizations in the Imperium, obviously the Inquisition. So they get to do loads of really cool stuff, covert missions. They get to do all these awesome things. And the beauty of it is that they then return to their chapter with that knowledge to kind of pass that knowledge and have that specialism of fighting those different foes and doing that. They walk back to the chapter, which is quite cool. Keeping the pad as well is a really cool thing. So obviously they get to keep their Deathwatch pads as well to show their term of service, which I think is just amazing.
We've had a few like custom characters that we've done through Siege where like they've asked for it might just be like a Black Templars character, or it might just be like, we did a Raptors one, I think, but they specifically requested, like they wanted the Deathwatch pad on there to show that they'd been part of the Deathwatch. As a story mechanic, I love it. Yeah. I think it's a great idea for an army or a great faction to have.
The OG kill team, Deathwatch.
Exactly, yeah. Within, I know we said we weren't going to talk about gaming stuff, but I love the idea that, I don't know how they work now, but when I was gaming in like 7th and 8th, I love the idea that they could have these mix and match squads where it was like, brilliant. It was like, okay, this is a unit. It's got a biker in it and a Terminator and 2 intercessors and an aggressor or something. You know what I mean? And that was a kill team.
Any army that allows Marines to carry a frag cannon is good in my book. So,
when I was doing Deathwatch was my favorite kill team to play because of the frag cannon.
Yeah, they are amazing.
In the original kind of reboot of Kill Team.
But you know, one of the things I really like about them as well, and just moving on to obviously the painting side of stuff, is that you can make units so varied and have so much interest in even a 5-man, 10-man kill team just because of the chapter lineages that you have in your kill team. It is. I know you're a big football fan, Joe, but it is literally like having your like
an all-star 11,
an all-star kill team. It's brilliant.
I think from a hobby point of view, they're almost like the orcs of Space Marines, where you can just kit bash and go crazy on these unique conversions for each individual model. We've spoken about Adam Langton's Deathwatch army.
I mean, his army is a perfect example of what you can do.
Yeah, right. He's obviously one of the presenters on Warhammer's YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I think honest_orc.
Yeah,
the Instagram.
That's him.
Just have a look on that page to see exactly what you can do with a Deathwatch army, because it's
I've got crazy. To say, his army is probably one of the best examples of a Deathwatch army and what you can do with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So much scope for like these unique little stories to tell with each individual model. It is painted more black. It's also hard if you're not doing that and you just want to batch paint an army. It's harder because there's so much individuality just because of the shoulder pads.
Yeah, and also other details and things on like weapons and like, you know, like we done a commission quite a while back where we done a couple of kill teams and a couple of Razorbacks, and one of them's got like a black dragon, and like he's obviously black dragons have like these huge bony crests that grow out their arms and like heads and stuff like that.
That's a Space Marines chapter. That's it is. Not a lot of people might actually know.
No, it's a Space Marine chapter.
Defects and
they have genetic defects.
Yeah,
so it's really cool. Like, and again, you can just do some really interesting things. And again, with the painting side of stuff, it just gives you the option to do so much stuff in the unit as well.
I think it's cool that it's like we've spoken about getting the bug for a certain thing before, like you with your AdMech, for example. And if you just want to get like, you know, get a Blood Angel out your system or something, or get a Raven Guard model out your system, you get to do it in your Deathwatch army, and then you can get a bit unique with it and stuff like that. What are we thinking? You got any thoughts on Deathwatch?
I'm like really. the reason I'm quiet is I'm quite like indifferent to Deathwatch. I don't really know like much about them. But,
what about like looks wise?
Not my thing.
Think Silver Arm looks cool. Winter Soldier.
I think it's just like a bit. I understand that you can do the customization and you can like incorporate the other chapters and stuff, but like as a foundation, just black and silver is just so like a
little bit
plain
boring
to me. But I don't know. The model's cool. So
black and white on the Black Templars, that's good enough to do as a commentary. Black and silver, no go, very
do you know
boring.
what the difference is though? Because the Black Templars have got that sort of bluish hue in the highlights. It just adds a little bit more visual interest. But I think what you find with Raven Guard will be similar. I mentioned this, but like doing that like grey highlight kind of like box art look.
Quite dull.
It's quite plain. Especially when you've got silvers. You've got like the grey of the highlight and the grey tone of the silver.
Yeah, interesting. Also just model-wise, not as fully supported as they used to be, I would say.
No,
it's also like it's also like older stuff, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot of older stuff. I do wonder if, I don't know because I'm not 100% up on the lore, but have they even really been like brought into current stories?
Well, the thing is, they're constantly doing stuff. Like they're doing loads of covert stuff all over the place.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, are they being even given the love in the lore at the minute? Is there anything that's...
I think they rotate it, don't they? So when something new's coming, they start putting more lore books out and stuff.
I just wonder if it is something that's being phased out a little bit.
No, but, it's so iconic. I don't think they could. But where are we ranking them?
I don't know. Yeah, where do you want to go? I mean,
I think they're like for me, they're like just a B, just sort of a middle of the road. Like
I'd be happy with B. I think
they deserve a bit more than that. But if that's
we're gonna have them all. We can't.
You would put them on par with Black Templars.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, personally. But if you guys,
we've got to leave scope because
we'll put it at B.
Something in here's got to be detailed. We've got this is a zoomed in macro shot.
Yeah, I said we'll say Blood Angels till the end.
You mean Dark Angels? Yeah, Dark Angels. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Grey Knights is that next?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Nice, more boring silver for you.
They got the blue going on.
True.
They got some cool librarian stuff. Some
cool new models
things going
as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us the little overview on Grey Knights?
One of the most secretive chapters in all of the Space Marines, chapter 666. I get that if you're into that specific numbers. But they are based on Titan, which is in the Sol system. That's where the Fortress Monastery is. Grey Knights are all psychers, so they're all librarians. Not librarians, they're all psychically able to use, obviously, psychic powers. And they are a demon hunting chapter. So they were created by Malkador to fight demons in secret, and then obviously they're not as widely known in the sort of narrative like as other chapters. They're the whole populations of like planets are like purged to if they see Grey Knights and stuff like that, just to because if demons are there, they don't want populace seeing demons. So yeah, it's they're a really cool chapter, but you wouldn't want to be their best friend.
Yeah.
So
I've like this weird half and half thing with Grey Knights where I love like always leans towards like magic stuff, and I love like the librarians and things like that. So love that, absolutely love that. Love like the secretive nature of the
chapter
of the story of the chapter. If you couldn't tell, I'm a fan of that sort of thing with Space Marine chapters, and having the single goal of like hunting demons, sick, brilliant, leads to some cool like. I don't know, some cool battles you could work into your models and stuff.
It's nice when they have like a famed rival as well for like little basing details and stuff like that.
Yeah. Even like I was going to say dioramas, like I've ever done a diorama, but that's kind of what I love the idea of like when you're going into a project that I can at least imagine that's what the diorama would be if I did want to do one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the answer is there for you. They'll be fighting demons, but never been a massive fan of like fully metallic color schemes.
I'm not overly keen on metallics. There is the upside for this though, that if you were going to do Grey Knights, we've spoken about before on our like painting hacks episodes, they are one of the quicker schemes to paint. Mm-hmm. They're somewhere where you can get away with some shortcuts. Yeah,
but then you can add like blue hues and stuff to the armor, different colors and things. I actually really like Grey Knights when they're not painted in silver.
So I was about to say, and I think you might be about to bring up the same thing.
Yeah.
We did some black armored grey knights.
That sounds cool. I've not seen those.
Black armored with red lenses and red weapons. They looked amazing.
I think there was some purple.
As well.
Maybe some purple blades on there.
Purple blades as well.
We'll have them on screen for the listeners.
Yeah. They. Well, I have to try and. This is an old project, so if you can't see anything, we might not been able to dig out the images. But they were brilliant. They look really cool. So if I was going to do that, I'd probably go down that route. I don't know if there's is there official Grey Knight successors? Is that a thing?
Not that I'm aware of, but then I could be completely.
That's the beauty of 40k. You can just make this stuff up like everything else.
You can paint them with pink polka dots if you want. That's what I always used to get told in games.
They're definitely not going to be secret if they're in that color scheme.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I for me, they're not really an S or an A tier, being honest. I feel the same way that George does about Deathwatch.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm inclined to agree. I think cards on table, I'd put them in a B currently.
I would, yeah.
Currently. However, in terms of being anticipated for these kind of refreshes that we're talking about.
Well, if Castle and Crow is anything to go by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The brief little upgrades that we've had to Grey Knights since the kind of Primaris era have shown that once they do get a full upgrade, once we get some Primaris scale like Paladins and stuff, I think it's going to be one of the coolest.
Castle and Crow is one of the best Primaris new characters to come out, just full stop, regardless of chapter.
But he's not Primaris. They've just made him bigger.
The Primaris update wave.
That's what I mean. That's why I said Primaris sized.
I see.
I think I said that anyway. I meant to say that.
My mistake.
Or scale, up the bigger scale. I think once they get the full refresh, I think they're going to be one of the best model ranges in Marines. I think you'll see a massive uptake in the amount of people wanting to paint them. But for now, kind of outdated. They're so obviously old models now when you look at them next to the newer stuff.
From what I understand, they are currently one of the better value ranges in terms of what model count you can get for your dollar sort of thing. Yeah,
the amount of flexibility in that kit, which you won't get once it's. You just probably won't. You've just seen that with the Deathwing stuff. That used to be a combined kit, and now you have to buy Knights and you buy Terminator separately.
Yep. They're also likely to be less customizable. Like we've seen with all of the Primaris updates, they're not like the old school full multi-part.
The ball socket on the torso. Yeah.
Well, our painting team will be happy to know they might not have to magnetize those kits anymore, because that is an insane magnetization job.
The strike box is probably one of the most flexible kits I think you can get.
I still get confused sometimes because...
Did you ever have to do it?
I've not had to do that personally, but I still sometimes get confused because they're one of those ranges where there's 15 different kits, but they're all the same box.
Yeah.
So you'll order it and then it will come and you're like, hang on, I didn't order that. Oh no, it is.
You look at the back and say, I could do 5 different things.
In that one box, you get Interceptors, Strike Marines, Purgation Squads. I think it is. I think there's another one, but you get such a wide variety.
It's wild. And then the Paladins
and Terminators.
Is also Terminators, which you can also build some characters out. Obviously, you can build the Apothecary out of that. Yeah, wild. But I think as it stands, should we go B? They sit the same as
B tier.
Deathwatch for me, I think.
Yeah.
Lovely. I'm assuming this is going to be Imperial Fists.
Yeah, that's the wall builders.
Sentinels of Terror.
So, well, actually, let's have a little lore outline.
I like this. It's like we get a little story time pitch. Yeah. Sets the scene.
Imperial Fists, Primarch's Vogel Dawn, built a lot of the defenses of Terror during the Horus Heresy, obviously to stop Horus and all these shenanigans. Bright yellow, so a colour that a lot of people do worry about.
Bright yellow, I'll just put them in D now.
Really, really cool chapter. Lots of characters and just have a wide variety of different things you can obviously do with them based on background as well, because they're based on Inuit, which is their homeworld. There's a lot of heritage to them as a chapter. So, they're cool.
They also, I guess, they go on to spawn. That's how you get Black Templars. Is that right?
Well, Black Templars are a secondary founding from Imperial Fists,
as a Crimson Fist, who we touched on the last episode briefly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? Always found Imperial Fists quite boring.
I'm so glad you said that.
Don't really like the. I'm really sorry to anyone listening. Don't really like the yellow.
Just a caveat: we think your chapter sucks.
Don't really look. As a Dark Angels fan, out of all of this stuff, I get the most flack out of anyone. I feel like I'm allowed.
You've had a lot of support in Camp Dark Angel from the community. He's underselling that.
It's because they've got new models out. Just give it some time.
Yeah, exactly. They're all jumping on the bandwagon. Like, where were they a couple of years ago? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, where were they? The 7th edition box came out and everyone was going, "Oh, it's a Chaos box" or whatever. Like, yeah, well, you know, whatever. Anyway,
Joe's still reeling from that one.
Imperial Fists, fairly boring. However, before everyone starts flaming me in the comments, Torgaradon model.
See.
One of my favourite Primaris
models. That's controversial because that's one of my least favourite, actually. And I see James shaking his head over there.
It's not because Torgaradon. I'll let you carry on.
The Torgaradon model, I think, is so good. It's the best, like, Gravis captain-y type thing that we've got, I think.
He is stood on a tactical, like, concrete slab. I'm not into it.
I don't really care about that. Like, I'm talking about how cool the model looks. Like, I love, like, the hunched over thing. Obviously, I'd put a helmet on it, as I've stated before. I don't really do.
I don't think does that one come with a helmet? I don't think it does.
I would put a helmet on it.
Oh, so you've got to go out and buy another kit separately. Very convenient.
Yeah, where am I going to find a Space Marine helmet? It's not like I've got 1,000 of them sitting around. I just always thought that's a cool model. And you know, based on the work that we've done over the years through Siege, other people do agree, because whenever we do Imperial Fists, people get that model, and we've had a number of people convert
that model from him.
That model, both custom service and non-custom service.
I just find it like just really underwhelming.
See, my favourite Imperial Fist character hasn't got a new model, which is the thing I think I'm waiting for. So Darnath Lysander, who's the Terminator captain, he's got this massive Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, and yeah, just my favourite character from the Imperial Fists. But I was hoping that they would have brought him out, and obviously because the new Terminators haven't been brought out in ages. The Terminator kit hasn't been updated until recently. It makes perfect sense, but I'm hoping that they do get a new Lysander model, because he's such a cool character. Like, he basically, so if you're unaware, he got essentially stuck in the warp, and then came back like hundreds of years from when he got lost. So like loads changed, but he's an amazing character. So like really, really awesome Terminator captain.
Not great navigational skills though.
He wasn't piloting the ship, George.
It's not his fault.
It's not his fault. No, but in all, they're not, for me, like the most interesting of chapters. They've got some cool characters, but they're not the most interesting of chapters.
Yeah, I'm going purely on vibes, really. I don't know too much lore wise. It's just I don't like the look of a huge yellow army.
Am I the only one that likes painting yellow? Is that a weird thing?
I like painting yellow.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Okay, fair.
Well, I mean,
what are you? Do you prefer like an orangey,
I think
transition, or a yellow, or you're more into like a brown, like desaturated, or like a really bright, like?
Definitely, if we're talking about the ways that I would like Imperial Fist to look, I would definitely go more desaturated, more into the browns than when it's like super goldy orange,
or like that, like really like fluorescent, almost like greenish, like
toxic yellow. Yeah.
So I used to prefer Imperial Fists with when there's a lot of people paint them with black trims, and I actually prefer them when they have red trims. I can't remember what company it is, and someone in the comments can put the right company. But I think they look great with red trims on them, because it's that Trident color scheme of the red trims, the yellow armor, and then doing blue lenses on them. I just think it looks great. But
does the Aquila ever change for them?
I think you correct me in the comments. I'm not 100% clued up on Imperial Fists, but I think that they either have a black Aquila or red Aquila, and it's
like a pinky color.
I was going to say, so this is the problem. This is the problem that I've spoke with a few clients about before who get Imperial Fists, where they wanted it to also be like Codex compliant and like to the point, is that I think that kind of pinky color stays on the Aquila regardless of what color the trims are. So sometimes if
you've got like a pink red.
If you
clash.
want, for whatever reason, Imperial Fists seems to be one of the armies that we get where clients are particularly, I want that company.
Yeah.
Like a lot of other chapters, people don't really mind, I'm doing third company, I'm doing fourth company, whatever. You get it a lot with Blood Angels, you get it a lot with Imperial Fists. And sometimes if they want certain company, it's like, okay, but does the trim go with the Aquila? Do you know what I mean? Because you've got to keep that pink there sometimes. Sometimes we have had even those people say, "Oh, can you just do the Aquila red or something like that?" I'm not sure if I'm right in saying that it should always stay that kind of pinky color or not. We'll have to look that up, or someone will say it in the comments. I suppose I've already belittled Imperial Fists, so they're coming for me anyway.
I think out of respect, they should go in C tier to match their color scheme.
I mean,
I'll take the C. I'll jump on that.
Tor Garradon is getting them into C for me because I do like that model. So
I'll see Tor Garradon for me is putting them down to a C from a B.
Well, there we go. Well, it doesn't matter how we get there. It just matters that we get there.
It's the miniature friends you make along the way.
Yeah. Iron Hands.
I really like Iron Hands. I've got to say it. They hold a little bit of a special place in my heart. I do really like them just because of some of the Heresy books. The saddest chapter, their Primarch got his head cut off by his best friend with a weapon that he made. So he got killed by his own weapon, essentially.
Oh, no, my Primarch's that we get it. Right,
yeah, I know.
Chill.
Yeah.
Like, over it.
To me, that just makes it, that's just pathetic. I think.
I'd cry, baby. Sanguinis is dead. You don't hear them whinging about it.
No,
they do bang on about it a lot. You'll start soon.
Guys, it's so salty. Right. But yeah, so
I'm quite enjoying it.
Being
like really salty.
Iron Hands, really cool chapter, Legion, whichever you prefer. They have an affinity for cutting their hand off and replacing it with a bionic. Hence their name.
Luke Skywalker fanboys.
They like the bionics. No, they're very close with the Mechanicum or Adeptus Mechanicus. Really, really cool. I love the fact that one of the things for me about them is that you can do a lot modeling with them because you can put loads of bionics and cybernetic stuff on them, which I think is awesome. One
of the things that I do actually really like about them as well is the white weapons that they have.
Yeah, I
contrasts so nice with the black metallic.
That is my single favorite thing about Iron Hands is black armor, white weapon cases.
Yeah, it looks so good. It looks sick.
I think they're really, really great. Like genuinely really like them for the opportunity of like painting. Again, you can do lots with the black, and then at the same time, I've seen people do them like they've got like loads of like etheric colors on the blacks and stuff like that, which looks quite cool. They've got some of probably the coolest Terminators, I think, out of all the Terminators from a lot of chapters. Just really, really awesome.
What have they got Primaris wise at the minute? Have they got that Tech Marine?
They have Iron Ferios.
Feros or something.
That character is amazing. Like the kit and the character is amazing.
See, I'm going to break the silence. Doesn't do it for me. The bionic stuff, we've had this discussion when the company champions or whatever it was called, company heroes thing came out. And you were all like going absolutely crazy for the guy with the bionic arm. And I was like, no, I hate it. The bionic stuff visually as like an aesthetic, not for me. So I don't like it. I don't think it doesn't tick my boxes.
Let's just call it what it is. I think they are a solid B tier. Definitely,
they're going D for me. So we got some
really
discussion to do here.
No, really, you were just picking up the white weapon cases.
I said it was a single favorite thing. I think it's my only favorite thing.
I think
it's favorite by default because it's the only thing you like about them.
They got a pathetic Primarch who gets his head chopped off with his own weapon or something.
Weapon he made. It was a gift to Fulgrim.
Boring.
Well, no, actually, he got killed by a layer blade, but he made a sword for Fulgrim.
There we go. You can make it. You can butter it up how you want. Just that doesn't do it for me. You're going to have a hard time.
They can join their best mates in C tier. I think I can't put them as.
We can meet in the middle as C tier. But I can't put.
It's going to be record show. It's going to be. I'm going to join James' side. I'll go C. I think Joe, you're going to have to bump up to a C.
Reluctantly.
The sigh. Oh dear.
If you're enjoying this episode of Paint Perspective, I just wanted to ask that you do us a huge favour by leaving a rating and review on whatever platform you're using, and also choosing to follow and subscribe. It'd really help us out, and it helps us deliver these episodes to you for free every week. Now back to the show.
What have we got next here?
We've got Raven Guard next.
Where's with all the black and silver schemes?
You kind of alluded to how boring you thought this paint scheme was earlier.
Right, I'm going to give ourselves a little self shout out here. I am not into Raven Guard at all. I could not care less. However, we have just done a custom service Raven Guard chaplain with it's like beak helmet and stuff, and it looks sick. And that has made me think maybe I'm missing out on something here. It's unpainted currently, but we've just shown off the photos for it. It looks amazing.
See, I like Raven Guards. I do find the color scheme a bit boring. But
I like Raven Guard, but I don't like Raven Guard, and here's why.
For me, they are
building them up to let them down.
For me,
all the Raven Guard listeners went, he likes us, and then he's just going to list off all the things he doesn't like afterwards.
I just find them a little bit bland, I think, is the way for me to put it. Like they're cool, like they've got the infiltration kind of thing. Like they obviously have had a lot of Corvus armor in the Heresy and stuff like that. Like I think they are a cool thematic chapter.
Is Corvus armor like all of our least favorite armor? I don't like Corvus armor.
I'm really bad with the names, to be honest. So
Mark
I can't
6.
picture
Beakies.
like the exact
Beakies, Mark 6.
Plate.
Oh no, I love a beaky.
No, okay.
Love a beaky.
Yeah, not for me.
One of my favourite Dark Angels helmets is a beaky, where he has a beak and then he has the actual Dark Angels thing like on the beak.
I don't love the beaky. The idea of the beak, I don't mind. Hence why I thought that.
Do you know what the beak is?
I like it.
So the beak is extra sensory equipment in the nose, or in the faceplate. That's what it is.
I couldn't have put it up here somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, then it look like a Mega Minds thing. That would look cooler. That would look cooler, would it? Than looking like a gothic witch doctor thing or whatever they're called. That would look cooler, having a massive head.
All modern jet fighters have the radar in the nose of the aircraft, and it's very similar to that. It's like they have extra sensors and equipment in.
I think it looks great. Yeah, I love the beaky, and they are the masters of the beaky.
The armor pattern does not make the chapter. The armor pattern's the armor pattern. So,
I know. So anyone can have it.
Do you like the armor pattern or do you like the chapter?
I like the armor pattern.
So there we go. so.
But they're the first one I think of when I think of it, in fairness.
Yeah, true. I mean, for me, I think they're a cool chapter. I like the backstory to them. But look, this is a painting podcast. And for me, we've got a lot of other chapters in black armor, which I think have a bit more to them. Personally, for me, I'm sorry to any Raven Guard fans, but
he's not. What are you talking about? You're obviously not.
I'm sorry to any Raven Guard fans, but for me, I see them as a C or a D.
Yeah, I think
I can't put them in D.
I can't really
terrible.
Come up with I'm not particularly a fan of the Caveman Shrike model.
The old one.
Oh, cool. The emo. Yeah, it's not a phase mom.
Oh, actually, yeah. As much of an emo as I am, big dislike for the helmets with the hair and everything.
Yeah.
The swept over.
It's not ideal.
Proper emo hair. Not a big fan of that.
I love that you're saying that with
as an emo myself, I don't. Not a huge fan.
I'm sorry to say.
I don't want my Space Marines to look like me. I want them to look like scary, not like they listen to My Chemical Romance.
These have got to be a C or a D for me.
Yeah, D's fine. D's fine. I think
Raven Guard fans. I didn't put it in D. They did.
Don't say they. I haven't spoken. Hang on. I wouldn't personally I would put them on the same as Iron Hands, but for me that would be a D.
Objectively, of all the ones we've discussed so far, they are ranking the lowest. Therefore, by default, they are going in the D category.
Yeah, I think because we all collectively have agreed on that one. That does feel harsh, but we move.
Someone's got to be down there.
I'm over it.
Salamanders.
Salamanders.
Oh no. Anyway.
Salamanders. Sons of Nocturne. An amazing chapter in my mind. I absolutely love them. I think that a lot of the books and stories make them out to be the most humane or human Astartes, which I think is really cool.
Which is what we all want from our Space Marines, a bit of humanity.
They still.
Well, I've spoken about this a few times before. When in my quest at one point to find like who's the good guys, as we all probably look, at least try and find out when we get into Warhammer, the big thing that always comes up is, Salamanders are the good guys. They're not. They're still Space Marines. They're definitely not good guys.
It's like trying to find like the friendliest Sith Lord
Yeah, but
on
when
the
you-
Death
when you-
Star.
I mean, it's a bit exaggerative.
Yeah, but when you
yeah.
start off, I mean, like Ultramarines and Space Marines in general are sold to you as
They are,
the
but
good
they are.
guys
He's the
versus bad
nicest
guys.
guy in the maximum security prison.
This is what I mean. Like this is
They are still, compared to like Nids and Dark Elder, they are still good guys. I'm sorry, they are.
Well, they're not. They're arguably they're way worse than Nids because Nids are not even really
That's
conscious
a
of
completely
what they're
different-
doing.
that's for another episode,
These are humans who are signed up to this like
These are conscious decisions.
nightmare situation, who are enjoying what they're doing. So it's a little bit different. But Salamanders always crop up as people going, "Oh, they're the good guys." They're not good guys. They might be the best morally out of any of them, but
I'm going to say
really bad if you're a Space
I'm going to
Marine.
shoot from the hip here, and for me, color scheme, just the characters, like all of the aspects of the chapter. For me, they're a solid A tier. Solid.
I do like them. However, as time has gone on, I do think that this is going to be very specific, but like in terms of the details that make the models unique. So we talk about like, the Iron Hands have bionics or whatever, and the things you would add to them. Having like the scales on everything, not a fan of that.
I'm not
Think
mad
that looks
about.
a bit
I'm not
goofy.
mad about the scales, but the torches and the fire stuff.
Oh, I
is
don't mind
super
that.
cool. Yeah,
I don't mind that.
See,
Yeah, that's cool.
see from a painting
The
perspective,
scales, I'm a bit like, it looks a little bit goofy. I don't really like having that. But the fire aspect of it and having that single trait as well, it's almost on par with what we were saying about having that single enemy.
from a painting perspective, the option of either sculpting or painting the scales onto the model, like I think
the new stuff doesn't have scales though. Like the only one that's actually got it is Adrax,
Adrax Agatone has got
which
it
is
on.
we glossed over that. One of the best characters.
Oh, he's
Incredible
amazing.
model.
What a model.
Incredible
What
model.
a
Fantastic model. By
Yeah.
default, that's bumping you up. Take that, Raven Guard.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to say this: like he's got the Salamanders have got to be A. They've got to be. Like,
I think
they
I'm
are-
happy with
They
A.
are such
Are
a
you
good.
happy
they are
with A?
such a
Oh,
good
I'm happy with
they're
that. Yeah,
such a good
Salamanders
chapter.
are great. Yeah.
So now we come to Space Wolves. I'm going to just, we alluded to the big four previously, and I kind of want to leave the big four to the end.
Okay,
So
all right.
we'll do White Scars next, and that leaves us with what we have previously called the big
We
four.
spoke about White Scars last
We
week.
did,
a bit as well,
spoke,
didn't
we
we?
did, and I even mentioned them earlier this episode.
Right. Bikes straight away. That's pushing them into at least a B.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
bike,
And
the
it
bike
works
thing-
because of the letter. So
To quote the listeners, motorbikes, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
well, here's the problem. Here's the problem. I've spoken previously about my thing with Space Marines operating machinery.
Oh, I know what he's going to say.
And having
You
to
know
sit-
what he's going to say.
Having to sit in their little seats and everything. It looks
It's
little
not a
bit-
cockpit. It's not a cockpit.
It's not a cockpit, so it's a bit better. It's cool that it's a motorbike.
Hang on. Clarify your opinion.
I just think it looks funny.
right, irrelevant.
Hang on. Let just explain for the listeners who might not
What
have
I
heard.
said previously on an episode was that I think it looks funny when you have like this Space Marine sat in a little cockpit with all his little buttons and he's got his little chair and his little levers and stuff. And he just looks all little and cute in a little in his little cockpit. So it always throws me off if like the conversation that came from was whether you would leave the cockpit like glass
Painted or unpainted?
unpainted or airbrush it with the gradient like some people do, and I said airbrush it so that it doesn't look stupid underneath. That's a completely personal opinion. 0 people commented to agree with me, so that is a completely unique thing.
We'll take that as judgment.
The bikes are better. It still looks quite cool to have them on bikes. I think personally I like the look of like chaos stuff on bikes because it reminds me of like Mad Max or something. So that feels a little bit better. But yeah, the bikes are still cool. It doesn't trigger me as much as the cockpit stuff.
Right, they've got amazing background. They've got the color scheme is when it's done really
You
well.
didn't give us a little background.
White Scars come from a planet called Chigoris.
Oh, the order's all over the place
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Oh.
They're they come from a very much like a tribesman kind of like world. Obviously, Jagoris, where it's horseman tribes, and obviously they born in the saddle as like a statement is pretty much what White Scars are. They're all used to riding, I think it's like war horses on Jagoris. So really cool backgrounds. I love the kind of like Genghis Khan kind of like vibe that they've got. I think that's like an amazing kind of like conquering, like, and they do shooting well. They are a combat army as well. So like, I think there's lots.
I was trying not to interrupt. Sorry. I was just like, Genghis Khan, we're big fans.
Shout out Genghis if you're watching.
Big fan of Genghis Khan. Yeah, like,
sorry, I was trying not to.
Big up Genghis.
Yeah, just to
cut out.
Just a really, really awesome backgrounds. And then when it comes to the painting of them, again, really striking color scheme, that red and white, really, really high contrast colors, which is just great. I think if you can overlook the pilot in the cockpit kind of like thing that you were saying, Joe. Like, I think
the bikes are better. I will clarify, like, the bikes are better and can be very cool. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, for me, everything involved. I think that some of the earlier, like way back, like 3rd edition, 4th edition, they've done some White Scar upgrade bits and bobs like in the early days that you could like change the bikes and put some like Talwar swords on them and stuff like that. Like, I just think they've got a really cool background, and I think if you can look past obviously the difficulty potentially of painting white, I think that they look great when there's an army of them.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things. It's difficult to paint. Like, not a lot of people are going to want to paint loads of white. I do think white Marines look cool.
They look amazing.
They do look cool.
Because if you're into weathering, you can weather them really well as
yeah,
well.
But even clean, like, I think, and you can do a lot clean with white anyway in terms of different shading colours and stuff. I'm not overly fond of when you see a lot of the red freehand patterns and stuff. I think
I really like that. I think that looks really good.
I love that. Because it's almost like the tribal Maori kind of.
I get what
it
is,
it's
but like I don't really. Yeah, it doesn't do much for me. But it does. You end up with a bit more of like, if you do it too much, you do end up with like a red and white Marine. You know what I mean? Like,
I
can see that.
I'm gonna shoot from a hip and say what I think where they place. I personally would put them A tier.
That's a bit hot for me. I would have said B.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
I think they've got such a cool background. Like the background and the Primarch. Like
Jagatai
as a Primarch is amazing.
I'll tell you where I'm at. The Primarch, his model is amazing.
Yeah, but like, hang on, he's MIA. We're not throwing Jagatai in this.
Oh, is this 40k strictly?
Yeah, but he'll be back. He'll be back.
It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one.
Jagatai, can you imagine how amazing Jagatai? If you look at the line, you look at Gulliman, you look at all the Demon Primarchs and stuff that they've done, all the other Primarchs. Can you imagine how good Jagatai is going to be?
Yeah, but there isn't one.
There isn't one. Yeah, we can't base it on that now.
Can you imagine how great Sanguinius would look? You can't throw that in there.
Yeah, well.
I'm inclined to go B, I think.
I'm happy to downgrade to B. But
I think B, go with the majority.
I'm going based off of the... Oh, no, saying that, you know what? Like with Black Templars and Salamanders in A, I think I would put them next to them.
I think they are.
I think I would put them next to them.
They're as good as Templars or Salamanders.
Yeah, I would go A.
I'll budge on that.
Fine. Right.
If George is outvoted, I think.
Poster boy time.
We got the big four.
Big news, tickets are now on sale for the Siege Studios painting classes for 2024. For over 8 years, we've been running in-depth, hands-on classes across the UK, which has allowed us to create the perfect learning environment for improving your painting skills. With a variety of topics available, all our courses are taught by senior artists and feature practical demonstrations in a relaxed environment that welcomes interaction from you, discussions on theory, and an open Q&A session so you can ask that burning question you've had on your mind. You can even bring your models for feedback. To book now and reserve your place before tickets sell out, head over to siegestudios.co.uk/shop. I'll see you on a class soon.
We've got the big four. Should we do Space Wolves first?
I don't know. Do you want to get...
let's leave it till last. Let's leave the big...
Space Wolves?
No, the big debate. Let's leave the big debate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Let's do Ultras. Come on, Ultras.
No, do Space Wolves first. Leave
the Smurfs.
I think... Oh, do you want to do a very quick little roundup?
Probably the most ferocious chapter, savage chapter that was used to terminate other chapters. Space Wolves and Lemo Russ, the Primarch, is probably one of the greatest Primarchs. One of the greatest Primarchs.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think this is our first S tier chapter so far.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the big four.
Yeah. There's a reason why. There's a reason why they've got such a cult following, and like so many people love them. Like they've got the like from painting, you can do so much with them. The color scheme is amazing. You've got the grey heresy scheme. You've got the bluish kind of like.
How do we feel about how a full 40k Space Wolves army looks together with the blue?
Love it.
What?
I do like it.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the deal with the snow?
Fenris.
That's where they're from.
But like, why is it always snow?
Because
that's where they're from.
But they go to other places. That's the point.
Yeah, but do you not think that a chapter that comes from an ice world, death world, would be put on campaign in places where there's snow?
Yeah, I'm sure they are. But you think they never go anywhere else?
Well, they've
never been on a ship.
Maybe they like the cold. All right, okay.
You can say that about.
I'm fine with that, but they're always in the snow.
Yeah, they love it.
Hot take: George doesn't like snow.
Well, the basin. I mean, look, I don't seem to remember basin coming into any of the other.
It was just a question. It was just a question.
I get what you mean.
Do you know what it is? It's because a brown base stream doesn't look that good with the
snow.
That's what it is. That's what it is. He's nodding. It is. That's what it is.
Yeah, I get it, but like a lot of the chapters have their signature things, and so obviously
no. There is no other chapter that always has the same basing.
It doesn't always. I've seen Space Wolves on other basing before.
That is very rare. There is no other chapter that has the same.
Right. Okay. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this now.
Salamanders on like the burnt.
You know what? You've instantly won me over. Take it back.
Yeah. Salamanders on like the burnt ash thing. I think it's easy because like it's easy to explain because people obviously like the army, so they want to put the setting of that army on their model.
Yeah, you can't get more thematic than snow on Space Wolves.
Just stop having a go at them.
Yeah.
Just to clarify,
snowist.
Just to clarify, I like snow bases. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just curious as to why they're always on there. I've never seen anyone mixing it up.
Yeah, well,
here's why it's going to be like 30,000 comments. Actually, my Space Marine army.
Yeah.
S tier.
I think they're my first S tier. Before we even get to talking about like Ragnar models, cool and everything.
Yeah, I mean, how good? Like they've got Bjorn as a character.
Yeah,
Bjorn, like one of the best characters. Like,
Is that the
Dreadnought? The ancient Dreadnought. Cool. Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah. Poster boys.
We do Ultramarines next.
Ultramarines. I've always liked them because they've got that Roman kind of legionary kind of like aesthetic. I think that I've said this before and other times we spoke about Primarchs.
Isn't it Greek?
It's like
Roman Greek.
It's an Omega.
It is, but
it's obviously they take a lot of influences from a few different.
I thought it was more like
Spartan
together than it was Roman.
I mean, Adam's probably next door listening to this, like crushing these brushes in his hand. Yeah, so he can hear us kind of debating.
I think it's a bit of everything. Like from that kind of era, like we're talking Greek, we're talking Roman. There's the Spartan.
They do mash a lot of it together.
They do.
I think on different ones.
There's lots of little details and stuff. Like if you look at some of the inlays or some of the key lines on the cloaks, it's very Roman in look. The way that the key lines are, like the pattern, the intricate patterns and stuff.
There's a reason people, look to do like the more Roman looking helmets and stuff.
Yeah, and the shields. If you think of the 30k shields where they've got the massive
the round shield,
the square.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I look, I think it would be a disservice to them to do them anything lower than B, and I'm going to say that now. The reason being,
I wouldn't go lower than
because they've got some amazing characters. Like you've got obviously the main man himself, Gulliman, which I've always said this. I think the Gulliman model, I think it'll always be iconic because it was the first plastic Primarch kit. I like the Gulliman model. You've got probably one of the best characters from the books, Uriel Ventress, who then got an amazing model as well. You've got Saul Invictus, who is obviously the character that the first company captain who died on Macragge defending the ice station. Like you've got some amazing characters in from the chapter, and they've got so much depth to them because of all the books and stuff that have been written.
Just generally speaking, they're one of the easiest armies to do on the basis of there's loads of models for them. All the new stuff you're always going to be able to run because they're like the current GW poster boys. I guess.
They're the permanent poster boys. They will always be the poster boys.
Yeah.
That's either a positive or a negative, depending on whether you want that or not, I suppose. But
and from painting, like they are. I've painted loads of Ultramarines in my time, and I've always enjoyed painting them. I think they're really because they've got that. If you go back to second edition, even with gold as rather than yellow, because they've got that primary color triad as the color scheme. I think those colors, obviously, they instinctively work together really well. I just think they're for painting, they're always very fun to paint.
Yeah, I mean, I always joke that they're boring, but that's mostly because of them being the poster boys. I think I never gravitated towards them personally. When I was like even finding out what Space Marines were, the first Marine I ever painted was an Ultramarine because I was just copying what was on the box.
It does just sort of seem like that thing of like, kind of, I guess any chapter suffers from this. If you don't like blue, you're not going to like Ultramarines. Like,
in fairness, I would say color scheme wise, I really like how it's evolved over time. I don't know the general consensus on the yellow versus gold. I like the gold trims.
I prefer the gold.
And the more modern way of painting them. I think the more modern box art models for Ultramarines do look really
The
good.
new ones, when the heavy metal team goes like full beans
And
on the
they like
weathering and all the
the
glazing,
glazing
they
and
do
stuff.
look great.
I think they look really
amazing.
good.
And that's why, because of the primary color triad and because obviously they do look so good, like that's why they are the poster boys, you know? And like I said, I think other things like the use of white, like for example, like the Tyrannic War veterans and things like that, when you have like the veteran units that have got white rather than other colors and things, I think there's just lots of things to them that adds a lot of interest. Solid for me, I've got to say this, it's either got to be A or B, and I'm really inclined to go A.
Basing on the list that we've got so far, I would have to put them in A. I couldn't put them like below.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, well, could I?
I couldn't. No, I think they've got the same level of interest and character depth for me as like Templars, Salamanders, and White Scars.
I think in trying to talk myself into that, I've almost talked myself
I'm
out of it.
actually
I think
glad
I probably
you said that.
I think I probably would put them below
I'd say
Salamanders
it's
or
a high
White
B,
Scars.
but I'm going B.
It's the highest B.
I'm out
it's
voted
almost
here,
difficult because it's not. I don't want to put them on the same level as Grey Knights, and I would almost want to put them in like a
B and a half.
like a B and a half,
yeah.
a B plus.
Well,
You can do that. You can do that. You can put it further over. You can go all the way to the left there.
What do you mean?
Of B, so you put it at the top of B.
Over
there
here.
you go.
I'm slightly.
We're not all ranking them in that way, though, are we?
You can if you need to.
Okay. B is the only one ranked like that.
I am outvoted here, but yeah, I think they're an A, just for the record, Ultramarine fans.
Yeah, I think they've got to be a bit. I can't put them.
Raven Guard fans, you can suck it, but the Ultramarine fans, we're sorry.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to caveat this. Okay,
also just a bit of a minus for Ultramarine. The name's a bit of a pun, and I don't like it. That's part of it. Corny. Doesn't sound good because it's Ultramarine blue and they're Space Marines and they're Ultramarines. Not for me.
Okay,
not for me.
To caveat,
you deserve your B.
To caveat,
your pun name.
To stop,
you'll take your B and you'll like it. Be grateful.
To stop another heated debate. Okay.
Oh yeah, we're notoriously successful.
We have gone over this.
We have gone over this. So look, I think we just approach it in this manner. We all love these chapters, okay? We all have an affinity and we all really enjoy these chapters for various reasons, be it painting, be it backstory, be it whatever. So
Except for Raven Guard.
I'm talking about Blood Angels and Dark Angels here.
Do you know what as well? One of my friends who listens is a Raven Guard fan.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Reese.
I think that we, right from the get-go, rate them and then talk about the things we like, because I think that's a better way to do it.
Do you know what? I do think, look, I know we're a bit pushed for time. We've had multiple discussions on Blood Angels versus Dark Angels.
Do you know what?
Can we just amicably agree? Let's say each of us honestly where we would put each of them, and then we can amicably decide on a placement we don't have to go into the finer details.
I'll shoot.
If you really want to understand our thoughts on either of these chapters, listen to the first 15 minutes of last episode and probably the first 10 minutes or so of the episode before that. We cover it all.
That'll be episode 36 and episode 35.
I'm going to say this right now.
Not as impressive as me pulling episode 22 earlier, but
that was quite good. Both of them are S tier. Both of them, 100%.
What a buzzkill.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm sorry to say it, but the facts are the facts. They shared a book together in second edition. They both have a very similar, obviously, name, because obviously Blood Angels, Dark Angels. They've got really great backgrounds, both of them. Both of them have got so many awesome characters. You just, there's so many to name. I think because of that, and because of removing all bias on my part away from a certain chapter, like they have a massive following each of huge demographics of fans. I just think you can't put them any lower than
Let's all agree that they're both S tier above Space Wolves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, both S tier above Space
I mean,
Wolves.
look, if I was gonna ruin the niceties
don't you dare. Okay,
don't.
don't.
I'll leave it. They're both S tier.
In terms of model range currently, even though I am on Team Blood Angel now, I will say that Dark Angels does currently have the better models.
Currently.
Oh, have I got to order them?
I still think, I'm going to say this now, I still think that...
they're both above Space Wolves, don't have a go at me.
I still think that a lot of the older kits of both of these chapters, the older kits aren't so much around anymore, obviously, for Dark Angels, but I still think a lot of the older kits do hold up. Death Company, Sanguinary Guard. Size-wise, obviously, that people like prefer Primaris, so in size now, whatever. But I still think as kits, the detail, the quality of the kits, I think they still hold up.
Yeah.
So
even some of the character models from like
second edition.
You know, people moan obviously about like Finecast stuff now and things like that, but a lot of the metal sculpts that ended up being Finecast, some of those characters are great.
Like the Tycho model for me is one of the most iconic models ever. It's such a cool model, the Tycho model. I think
for me with Dark Angels as well is the Ezekiel model.
Yeah, it's amazing model.
Probably just what I said earlier about me liking like the librarians and the psycho stuff, and obviously I got the CS Ezekiel as well.
Yeah.
Which is quite lucky really, because that seems to be the only one that they're not bringing back at the minute.
I think Lazarus is one of the best new Space Marine characters.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool model. I've moaned about not being able to use that helmet as a helmet before, but really cool model.
I know he's only a lieutenant, but I like Tolmaron as well. I love the Blood Angel lieutenant model that they released. I think it's an awesome pose and awesome kit. I just think that those two chapters.
I think we can amicably agree.
Yeah, I think so.
After a couple of weeks of heated debate.
Yeah.
I'm fairly happy with that as an overall thing.
Yeah.
There's a few adjustments that I would make probably, but overall as a collaborative effort.
George is looking down on Raven Guard there.
Quite well rounded as well, really. And it shows how
I had no hatred for Raven Guard before this episode, but like Joe, I'm feeling the salt.
Yeah, just enjoy it. Yeah. I'm like, every time we talk about Blood Angels, I'm just like thinking of something else that I'm annoyed at. And I'm like channeling it into Blood Angels. That's the tier list then.
If you're enjoying the show and you want to get even more painting tips and techniques from us here at Siege, head over to our Patreon. With the Siege Studios Patreon, you'll gain access to a catalogue of over 250 PDF and video tutorials covering a variety of techniques, from our foundation tutorials to full character masterclasses and much more. We also have a tier just for you podcast listeners to help support the show. So if you want to take your paintings to the next step and make the most of your hobby time, head over to patreon.com/Siege Studios. Question of the week time. Thank you everyone for submitting your questions for question of the week. If you have a question that you would like us to answer on the podcast, please leave it down in the comments below on YouTube. Or if you're listening on any of the audio platforms, please fire us a DM on Instagram, either at Siege Studios or at Paint Perspective Podcast. This question comes from Fear3773, who says, "Good evening, lads. Just caught up on the entire podcast from a back-to-back 20-hour drive from LA to Seattle.
That is, sorry, just to interrupt, that is insane.
That is mental.
That someone's done that.
That's also crazy that we have 20 hours worth of content. I can't believe how quickly that's ramped up.
Yeah, wild. I mean, sorry.
I love the fraternal energy that you bring to the hobby, and I've come off my drive full of ideas and inspiration.
Well, that's always good to hear.
Yeah, I love that.
I have a question for question of the week. I run a small Warhammer community at the local game store where I work. I was inspired to run a painting competition of my own after listening to the episodes about competing. I was thinking of doing a single model competition and restricting it to a 50mm base size as not to overwhelm anyone who hasn't done a painting competition before. Do you have any advice on running a painting competition or ideas on how to make it more entry-level friendly and focused on peer-to-peer critique and improvement? Thanks in advance for all the advice and inspiration." Well, James, you've got a bit of experience running painting competitions. Do you want to give a background on that?
So we ran Iron Skull, which is Siege's branded painting competition, and we actually ran it literally on the cusp of the whole entire COVID outbreak in 2020. I think it was 3 weeks before the first lockdown here in the UK was when Iron Skull was.
Yeah, it was, just to clarify, when you say on the cusp, like, it wasn't like just as everything was supposed to be stopping and we're doing our painting competition.
3 weeks before.
It was like, yeah, completely before just before it all kind of shut down, really.
Yeah. And yeah, running a painting competition is quite stressful, being honest, like just making sure that everything runs as it should do. And obviously people get their entries in. Okay. That obviously everything is looked at, or as many things are as looked at as possible. Because the worst thing you could have is you have lots of entries and the judges or people don't see all the models that are in the category or in the categories, for example. I think that's one of the things just to be conscious. I think there has to be a massive amount of respect given to every single entrant, because tens and tens and tens of hours of work have been put into all of these phenomenal pieces and models. And for something to go in the cabinet, for that person having all their hopes on that model or their pieces doing well, and then it not being seen can be an issue. So I think a lot of respect has to be given to every single entrant and also the entries, and they all be looked at within the judging period. But in relation to your question and about base sizes and things like that, I think that's a very good idea, restricting it to a single category to start off with and then restricting the base size. I think you've got to think of it for entrants that maybe haven't entered a competition before. You're quite right in not wanting to create the Everest of competitions and have something which is such a high thing for them to hit with the amount of effort and work that goes into it for the first time. So I think a single figure definitely is a good way to go. You can restrict the base size to 50 mil, which is brilliant because some of the newer Space Marine characters and other character models are on 50 mils, which is good.
I do really like that idea. I think that's quite. I'm not sure if other competitions do that or not, but I've not heard that before, and that does seem like a really good idea.
It's a really good idea, yeah.
It's funny you say that, actually. I know this wasn't technically actually like a painting competition, but when we haven't done Iron Skull since, and when we were within COVID and the lockdowns and everything, we decided to do an internal version of Iron Skull just for the team. It was just like a bit of a fun painting competition. Everyone could get like some cool pictures of their models, and it would be judged by the same team that judged Iron Skull. And one of the things that we put in place for that was, obviously it was a single category, and I set the thing of base size in which I think I set maybe at 60 mil.
Yeah, because of Abaddon and Guilliman.
Because basically the cut-off was we didn't want anything bigger than Abaddon and Guilliman. That was about it.
Yeah.
The funniest part of that was, in true Jamesism form, everyone immediately was trying to bend the rules.
Can I just point out? Let me finish the thing. So the other thing I put in, which I think you might want to do, is no vehicles.
Yeah.
So no one doing like an Outrider or something, because it just became a little bit like,
what if you do that? Can you do a Dreadnought, or then can you do that?
We wanted it to be as easy to, especially if you're trying to encourage beginners and it's your first one you're putting on. You want it to all be as easy, as smooth running as possible, and we wanted as little questions as possible. So we said, we wanted it as easy to judge as we can. We didn't want that much variation. So, we set it like that. Everyone who entered almost had like questions on like, like, what if I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Like, everyone was trying to bend the rules at one point. Like, it was insane. There was like one person who was like banking on doing Gaskull, and then eventually was gonna like, I actually then and then they started saying they were going to do the original Gaskull. Yeah, it was Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Matt. Yeah.
They started saying he was going to do the original Gaskull, and then I had to put an additional rule in that was no Gaskulls, whatever era. I don't know. Okay, I can't remember why we didn't let him do the original one, but it's still like, that's something I would put in place. Just be as kind of categoric as possible.
I think base size is a good way to do it, because then whatever base size the model comes with kind of dictates what models you can enter. And I think that's a good thing. The one thing I would say, which is actually something that is really important, is decide on what type of painting competition you're actually running. And what I mean by that is, are you judging it based on what looks cool, or are you judging it based on how well it's painted, because they're two very different things. Sometimes you have competitions that are where people will vote for what they like, and that's more of that looks really cool, that's a great looking army, or that's a great looking model.
You get that a lot with the local store competitions.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like if you want to do a competition that's literally like what looks great, or how
that's a good idea. That's a great conversion,
that kind of stuff. That's brilliant. The other side of the coin is very much: is it painted really well? Does it have mold lines on it? Is it a really well painted model? Does this one have a broader selection of techniques or a higher level of technique applied to it? Is the execution as refined as this one, etc.? They're two very different paths to go down. Both of them have their virtues. What I would say that if you do it based on skill, technical ability, techniques used, you're going to have a lot more entries where people are pushing themselves, which I always advocate is a better environment for painting, personally, in my mind.
There's another layer within that as well, which is how is it going to be graded? Is it going to be graded like in a vacuum, or is it going to be like Golden Demon style, like there is one gold winner, or is it going to be like, yeah you've hit this threshold, you get a gold? Do you know what I mean?
You have the open format, which is obviously anyone who paints to the standard could potentially be awarded, within reason, and then I think that's
more beginner friendly, personally.
Yeah, I do, 100%.
Yeah. I think if you can do something like that, if the aim of this competition is to get a new group of painters together in your local community, beginner friendly.
Yeah. Open format, painting ability, I think is the way to go.
Exactly. Yeah. I think if you encourage it like that, so there could potentially be 3 gold winners.
Yeah.
If that's it. It's
almost like
you're almost ranking it the same way we've just done that tier list, where it's like all just compared to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, I think if you offer one of the things we've done at Iron Skull was like spot prizes.
Spot prizes, yeah.
I think that it helps people feel like at least they're coming away with something. So, for example, even people that didn't make it past the first cut, if the judges could tell that there was particular effort put into one thing or another, or maybe someone had clearly attempted NMM and maybe not quite got it, but the attempt was there, and it was that was a thing worth congratulating them on. That we were giving out artist opus brushes to those people and stuff like that. So I think, and they at least still felt like they were almost, some of those people were surprised when they were getting their model back, and they were also being given a prize, and they were like, oh, I got something.
Yeah, I think one of the real important things with that, and with any competition, is having a staircase of progression. And the reason for that is because, for anyone new entering a competition, many years ago when I started entering Golden Demon, the thing for me was right, I want to get a finalist pin. That's my goal. I didn't even, I'm not the sort of person that thinks, I'm going to go and try. I was just I just want to get past the first cut. For me, that was the goal. And then once you achieve that, you go, right, I've made the first cut. So I know that I'm at the level that kind of where my painting's at. It's a barometer. I know I'm kind of at the point where I'm starting to make the first cut. So now I need to look at all the models which make first cut and see what type of painting they have on those. So then I know how I need to improve mine to then hopefully aim for the next level or whatever, blah, blah. So having some kind of staircase of progression, be it spot prize, be it finalist, be it commended, be it a bronze, silver, gold, or be it a first, second, third, whatever you want to do, having that staircase of progression will really help within your painting community and the people that are entering kind of drive progression, which is really what you want to try and do. So that's kind of what I think.
In short, my summary of what I would personally like to see if someone started running a local painting competition at a store or something, or in a local painting club or gaming club or whatever, I would go open format if you wanted to be beginner friendly. Focus on painting quality, and spot prizes. And also, from an organizational point of view, decide whether you want it to be all in one day.
Yeah.
So they come in, maybe they're hanging out at the shop or wherever this is going to be hosted for a few hours, and chatting with each other, and it's more of a social event, and then it's being judged and people can look at the models and so on. Or if you want to kind of go away and judge them, maybe they leave the models with you for a day or 2 days or whatever. Just making sure you've got enough time, like you were saying, to give enough all the entries the respect of looking through them. Work that out, how you want to do that, and then set an entry limit. Don't go above what you can.
If you want it to be in the spirit of more entry-level painters, like community spirit, like bringing everyone up, it should be focused on celebrating the painting that has been done, rather than punishing the quality that hasn't been done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be like, you've done this looks great.
Well, that's what
like you've hit this bar threshold, or however you want to do your ranking system, but not. Don't make it this like brutal pitting everyone against each other. Like there can only be one winner, and you haven't meet this. Like just.
I also think in terms of judging, I don't know obviously this person or how comfortable they are with judging the painting or the entries, but everyone's going to want feedback.
Yeah, I was about to say this.
So if you don't, you've got to decide whether you're kind of knowledgeable enough or whatever to do that, or maybe outsource, find a local painter who you know is particularly good. Find someone in the local area that has maybe won a competition, or just someone on Instagram that you know that you've connected with who's in similar area, and see if they're up for doing it. Get some help with the judging.
I definitely would like having some judges which do have that painting acumen to be able to look at those things tangibly and obviously make the decisions.
For all I know, this person's won like Slayer Sword. I don't know, but
it's removing that bias from the equation and focusing on just the objective like quality of the painting.
You nailed it with bias. Like this is why I would say like if you can get multiple people to judge,
that's a good one as well.
Yeah, like
it's not what you think is the coolest. It's just like, objectively like let's take all of your like personal input out of it and just looking at it objectively of judging the quality of the painting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things. That we all love certain things. We all love different factions, armies, colors, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. Like, I think by having multiple judges, and I think 3 to 5 is normally the good. I'd always go for an odd amount, and
it's dependent on how many people are entering the competition, obviously, as well.
Having said that, model composition, I think, will come into it. Because like in terms of, I think just inherently, you can look at it as objectively as all you want. If the judge thinks that the model isn't very good, I think it will come into it.
Yeah,
but that's like a secondary layer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
that's not like the primary.
It's not a modelling competition.
Yeah. But I don't want people to think that doesn't come into it. I think just naturally as humans,
we all think that's important. I'm just saying if it's especially like a local friendly, like peer focused painting competition, I do think that first and foremost, like 75% of the judging should be based on that.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially not on the local level, like, oh, this person had more money for an entry, so they got a cooler model.
Yeah.
No, of course. Yeah. No,
I think it's a really cool idea. I'd like to see more of it personally, independently run.
Yeah, I agree. Hobby hack. This is our little closing weekly segment where we share a hobby hack with you. Another week where we've done multiple throughout the show. But
have we though? Put magnets on your tips.
Maybe that's just a Joe hack.
Yeah. I don't think that. I don't think I'm allowing that one to slide through. This is a single hobby hack episode, and we're about to say it.
Okay. So this is a bit of a throwback, but I realised we've never actually specifically...
You just say one that we've said before.
No.
Sand.
Yeah.
It wasn't sand, it was slate.
You get an electric,
sorry.
You get an electric toothbrush, right? And you...
Hey, that's got meat on it. Okay, that has.
So we've spoken many times, and also we've got a lot of new listeners now. So I want to just bring this full circle. All right. So we've spoken about the temporary subassembly, one of our
TSA.
The TSA. So I wanted to go into a bit more depth on how you might tackle doing a temporary subassembly in the specifics of corks and paper clips.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of, I don't know about you, James, I see a lot of approaches to this. Blue tack, those little weird holder things. You've got the classic cork and paper clip. You're a shot glass man.
Head rotisserie,
that's a throwback.
Do you know what I like recently? Shot glass, little cork glued on the top of it. So like I still get to hold the shot glass.
That's a great hobby hack, that one.
I'll put a picture up now. That's kind of my version of that's my little contraption. James has the head rotisserie. Mine's a shot glass, little cork glued on top so I can still hold the shot glass and I'm not holding a cork.
It's great.
And then the paper clip in that, TSA on the end of that.
That's great.
So,
all right. Fair.
That's what I'm rolling with.
That's what you're right. James, what are you rolling with?
Head rotisserie all day long. I'm going to take a photo of it and I'll
head rotisserie is an old reference. We're not going to go through that again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am a fan of wine corks, You can buy them in like packs. I'm not a wine drinker, so
a bit of
unfortunately that's a trip to the hobby store.
A bit of a wine cork connoisseur,
You say that. You must have this as well. I've got like my favourite wine corks that are like denser and heavier and flatter on the bottom.
Straight edge, mate. Sorry, no.
Yeah. No, like if you've got a packet. No. If you've got a packet of wine corks, like for hobby,
I know.
Then I've got my favourite ones. I'm sorry. Like some of them are flat bottom. Some of them I just relegate for. I'm going to chuck super glue all over this. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The in my opinion, the S tier temporary subassembly holder is similar to Joe's. It's wine cork, drill in a 1mm hole with the pin vise, not an electric drill.
Shame.
Paper clip, unfold that, stick it in, drill 1mm hole in the part inconspicuously. So if it's like an arm, then go in the shoulder joint, the bit that's going to be later be glued. Stick that in there, super glue, because super glue is weak and you can break it off as we've discussed before.
Yeah.
Paint it up. You can. It's also
mine's
great
literally that, except I then glue that onto the top of a shot glass.
On the head rotisserie, you don't need to glue the heads on because the thing is, believe it or not, a lot of heads specifically, like marine
Can you
heads.
explain the head rotisserie for that is an old episode.
So the head rotisserie is a shot glass with lots and lots of 2mm drill bit holes through the top, and then I put big paper clips in, glued them in, cut.
How
them.
have you drilled straight into? I imagine it would crack.
It doesn't.
Okay, never mind then. That's all.
It doesn't.
Just don't crack it, Joe. Obviously,
just don't crack it. Just be gentle.
In my head, I wouldn't have thought to drill through my plastic shot glass.
I've not had great results with this personally.
Look, but I'll put photos up and you'll see.
No, we believe you.
Yeah.
We believe
I've
you've done
seen it.
it.
I've seen it with my own eyes, but yeah.
It's not a mirage, don't worry.
I thought it was blue tack around the thing and then the...
Drilled through, mitre bond, done.
Okay, fair enough.
The advantage for me of the paperclip edition rather than, because I see a lot of people just do blue tack and they'll just stick the part or like, what do you call it, like poster putty.
Yeah.
Moves around.
Yeah, but also if you're at a stage where you might be potentially like spraying it a different color with the airbrush or the rattle can, you can't get to the underside because the blue tack is in the way.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got this it's only like a 1mm, paperclips are tiny, aren't they? So you can get to all angles.
Yeah.
And even for painting. And because it's on that strong bit of paperclip, you can bend it sort of into a shape and you can just hold the cork, spin it around.
Yeah.
That's my little hobby hack. It's not a mind blowing one, but I thought we'd
handy though,
like that. Yeah,
literally
has its uses. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this week's episode of Paint Perspective. If you want to support the show, you can do so in a number of ways. Mainly is our Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/Siege Studios, you will see all of our tutorials over there. We have a bunch of PDF and video format for that. And also we have a tier just for you podcast listeners to help support the show. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week.